Are we listening yet, you goddamn logheads? Like, is any of this getting through to you yet? How come every fucking institution is corrupt except for Donald Trump? Every institution is corrupt. The judiciary is corrupt. Congress is corrupt. The media is corrupt. Juries are corrupt. The Department of Justice is corrupt. Golf is corrupt. Everything's corrupt except for Donald Trump. Are you guys figuring that out yet? Renee says there's a virtual town hall today in Flagstaff for Eli Crane at the courthouse. Wish I could go, but I'm working. Eli is such a cuck. Oh, is Eli actually going to show up for it? He's going to quit. He's going to rage quit. He's just like an Andy Biggs clone. They just do the exact same thing. Andy's like, hey, have you ever wondered how to be in Congress and not have to face angry constituents ever? All you have to do is live in a place where Republicans win everything. Never show up for a debate. You see Andy Biggs out there debating? Never show up for a debate. I don't even get the calls anymore. This is one change that's happened since Trump took over. I don't even get the phone calls for Andy Biggs town halls anymore. I'm blacklisted. Last time I tried to get on, right when it took my question, because you can hear it, it flips. Have you ever called into like a radio show, like a FM radio show, and you hear you're listening through the headphones or however you're listening, and then when it switches to live, you'll hear like it just sounds a little different. That's what happens to me now. It flips to me. They don't say my name, and then they cut me because the switchboard goes in order. So they just wait, and then they cut me off, and now I believe I'm blacklisted from that. And again, like I'm a nobody. This isn't like, I got Andy Biggs. I'm a nobody, but he's gonna block everybody from town halls, just like Eli Crane will. I actually have some Andy Biggs stuff to cover. Actually, I'll do it now. I've been waiting. I didn't cover this story last week just because I was waiting for these clips to actually come out in their entirety. I don't know why they're not. This is Courier Newsroom. They're the ones that allegedly had these leaked clips, and unless I missed it, I can't find the full clips. But these are leaked clips from Andy Biggs' town hall where he was checking party identification and only allowing in Republican voters who voted for Trump into his town hall.
We just obtained footage of the Republican town hall they don't want you to see.
We're going to eliminate the Department of Education. I need to get rid of the 16th Amendment, y'all. And you also have to get rid of the 17th Amendment.
Okay, 16th Amendment. Anybody on that? Anybody know what the 16th Amendment is? Nobody's answering the 16th Amendment. All right, that's no, that was income tax. There you go, TM. That was income tax. They want to abolish income tax. Now, he also said the 17th Amendment. Do you know what the 17th Amendment is? There you go. Well done, Cece. 17th Amendment says that it used to be like the representatives from the state, you didn't used to vote for them. So you would vote for a state legislature, and then the state legislature would choose somebody to go on into Congress. Now, why would they want to do that? Why would they want to abolish the 17th Amendment? Because that allows red states to put in whoever they want. And that allows the governor to control the votes. Right? So if you get a governor that's already in, or state legislature, excuse me, that's in office, and you don't like that state legislature, but it's time to put up your representative or your senator, they just pick somebody that they want. And they just pick somebody that's going to do their bidding. The problem with Andy Biggs and their plan, like, people need to realize this. They're doing it now for a reason. They're doing it now, one, because they feel like they can, but two, because they recognize how unpopular their ideas are. And that's why they're doing this so quickly. And that's why they're asking for this so quickly, because they know from history that this doesn't end well, that this means their constituents are going to get pissed. They only have a small amount of time before the American citizens and the people that aren't like deep MAGA realize, they're not going to do what we asked them to do. They're actually just taking over. They're just doing fascism. So they're saying we need to abolish these amendments to consolidate power. That's essentially it. They would abolish every amendment outside of the second if they could. And frankly, I think once you got down to it, if the only amendment you had left, if your only rights that were protected were the right to own a firearm, and you decided you were going to take up arms against Andy Biggs, guess what? I bet he'd say, yeah, we want to get rid of that one too. This is all a power grab. No matter what you think about anything, you could agree with his politics 100%. But we are talking about fundamentally undoing the Constitution as a way of a power grab, just to make sure that they don't lose power later on. And look, if you like Andy's politics or not, it doesn't matter. This guy's a fucking idiot. He's stupid. Politics aren't just like this. I think sometimes people think like, oh, it's really about ideas. I vote based on ideas. You forget that you should also vote on people who understand what a good idea is and understand how to execute a good idea. This is a guy who can't execute shit. He couldn't execute his way out of a wet paper bag. He's remarkably dumb. I've spent the last 3 years listening to this guy talk because he's my congressman. Remarkably dumb. He was not a gifted law student. He was not a gifted lawyer. In fact, nobody gave a shit about this guy. And then he won Publishers Clearinghouse, got a few $1 million in the bank, and then ran for state Congress. And then he came over to where I'm at, which is like this deep red area of Arizona, full of old people, and he told them, like, I'm here for you. The world's changing. You got to pick me, Andy Biggs. Oh, and by the way, I'm Mormon, just like the rest of you. And they're like, yay, Andy Biggs. And he's been there ever since. He's an idiot. He's one of the dumbest people in Congress. I hear him lie to his constituents every time he's on a phone call. I've told this story before, but there's a shit. Now I can't remember who the name of the bill was. There's a bill that was named after. Okay, yeah. So it's the Betty Ford bill. And it's a mental health addiction treatment bill. It has a significant amount of money set aside, or had a significant amount of money set aside for veterans' mental health. One of the constituents called in from my hometown who said, I'm a Trump voter. I'm MAGA. We have the MAGA flag. I voted for Trump 3 different times, 3 different elections. And so I support Donald Trump and I support you guys' agenda, full stop. I do have a concern, though. You didn't vote for the Betty Ford bill, which is how my husband and many of the people who came home from serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, they rely on this bill in order for them to get access to specific mental health. And Andy Biggs said, and I swear to God, he said this. He said, I voted for it the first time, which is true. Like in committee, he voted for it. But when it came up for a vote, he said, I couldn't vote it for the next time because it had all sorts of woke shit in there, including like marriage equality. And I thought, all right, well, marriage equality, like that's like a 90-10 issue. I thought people listening to this must think, marriage equality, like you knocked down funding for veterans for marriage equality, which is already protected, which is already in every state. You're still fighting a fight from 20 years ago now. It was in the bill. It's already protected. How? And I'm like, how would that possibly be in the bill? So I went and I read the bill and I used Control F. I couldn't find marriage anywhere. So I read the whole fucking bill. It took me like 4 hours to read the bill because I'm a psycho. This is like 11 o'clock at night. I'm reading this goddamn bill just to find it. It's not in there. It's not in there. He just lies to his constituents over and over and over. And this is a MAGA Republican with a husband who served in the military, who desperately needs, or I don't know, I shouldn't say desperately, but who utilizes the mental health aspect from the Betty Ford bill. And he just lied to her. He just lied. The truth is, like, a guy like this who's this deeply Mormon, they don't believe in mental health. They believe that all your mental health issues can be solved through prayer. Here to tell you, didn't work. The amount of times I tried to cure my undiagnosed ADHD, that every parent around me was like telling my mom, like, don't go see the doctor about ADHD. They're just going to medicate your child and it turns them into a zombie. Look, and there's probably something to be said to not medicating children so often. There's probably something to that. But that's the religion that I grew up in. They really do. They believe that God can do anything. So when God can do anything, as long as you have enough faith, then why would you ever need a doctor? Why would you need any of that shit? You would never need a doctor. Just go get on your knees and pray. And so, anyways, those are the clips that came out of this video. There's one other one, I think.
After Republicans were told not to have town halls because their policies are so unpopular, people were showing up just to yell at them, Arizona Representative Andy Biggs headlined a town hall where they checked party affiliation and voting history at the door to make sure only Trump-voting Republicans were in the crowd.
They wouldn't let me in. They looked up my record on how I voted, and based on that, they refused to let me in. This is not America.
Journalists were also barred from the event, probably because Biggs didn't want you to see him talking about how he thinks the government, that he works for, uses geothermal engineering to control the weather.
My question has to do with the geoengineering that I definitely believe in.
So I sit on a working group, I guess we would call it, that deals with
talking about fucking chemtrails. Okay. This is the thing, like, even somebody like Andy Biggs, like, maybe he's not this stupid, right? But his base is, and he has to appeal to that base. In order for him to say dumb shit like we have to abolish the 16th and the 17th Amendment, he needs support from absolute fucking morons. And that's what you get. Like whenever I'm on his calls, it's just like moron after moron after moron after moron. And here's one of them, like, what about the chemtrails?
Explain phenomena. We're trying to get to the bottom of it.
And he definitely didn't want you to know his plan to cut Social Security is adding a work requirement to your grandparents' health care.
Would you mind please speaking to Medicare and Medicaid funding?
If you are able-bodied, maybe you should have to work and then have a work requirement.
Now, where have I heard that before?
My fingers hurt.
Now your back's gonna hurt.
That's such a crazy thing to say. Like, imagine being a Republican saying that. If you have the ability to work, you should work forever and ever and ever. You know who works forever and ever and ever? The people in Russia. You work until you physically cannot work anymore, and then you get, then we'll cut your Social Security for you. Then you can just live off of absolutely nothing. What kind of dream is that? What kind of great country's like, hey, here's what we can offer for you. You're going to work until the day that you die, unless you make an obscene amount of money. But like most of you, like 70% of you are just going to work until the day that you die. We got rid of pensions. 401ks aren't keeping up. The only way for you to not work forever is to get a job that makes a lot of money, like a lot of money. The way that inflation accelerates because of the way that we've built our economy that relies on 2 to 3% inflation every year. You have to make 2 to 3% on your retirement account plus and hope like through compound interest you have enough. And then you've got to be like, how long am I going to live? Once I die, how long am I going to live? Who knows? It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to judge that. Andy Biggs went on to Steve Bannon's podcast because I guess Steve Bannon couldn't find anybody else. And you're about to see how interesting Andy Biggs is and his level of humor. Here's what he had to say on Steve Bannon's War Room podcast this weekend. The silencing of speech is one of the things about Republicans that I can't understand with you guys. Did you always know you didn't care about speech? Did you always know you didn't care about free speech and you just didn't like criticism coming your way? Or is this new to you? Are you just finding out now that your elected leaders want to squash free speech everywhere?
Honored guest, one of the real fighters in Congress, Congressman Andy Biggs. Congressman Biggs, first, we've got some business to take care of with you today. But I want to address, we just had Julie Kelly on here about this fiasco this afternoon in a federal court.
That's Prophet Julie Kelly, the prophet Julie Kelly, the person who prophesies wrongly nonstop, and then they just keep trotting her up like she's a real prophet. Yeah, that's who they were talking about. That's who they just had on before Andy Biggs, is Prophet Julie Kelly.
Court about President Trump, the commander-in-chief, trying to get rid of and get out of the country a terrorist-designated organization of Venezuelan criminals and having a judge step in the middle of that. You've been very vocal about different alternatives. Can you give us your assessment of where we stand now with this judicial insurrection, given your career as a prosecutor, sir?
Career as a prosecutor. Let's look at Andy Biggs' career as a prosecutor. This bitch has been in government his whole fucking life. Biggs was born in November 1958. He was a Mormon, went on a church mission to Japan, got a bachelor in Asian studies from BYU, and got his law degree from University of Arizona and a master's in political science at Arizona State. Then he worked briefly as a lawyer for a firm based in Hobbs, New Mexico. Hobbs, New Mexico, which currently has a population of 41,000 people. But when he was there, had a population of 34,000 people. So he worked for a private law firm in a tiny ass town. And Steve Bannon says, with your career as a prosecutor, I don't think so. I don't think he had a career as a prosecutor. I don't even know what kind of law he practiced. Let's see if I can find any. It was so small. Like, it's so small. He doesn't even have, I can't even find like what law he practiced, but he wasn't I don't think he was a prosecutor.
Yeah. What's gone on is the judiciary is utterly out of control, Steve. So when you think that there's been something north of 130 lawsuits filed to stop President Trump and any of his actions, you know that the federal judiciary is out of control. So let me give you some examples of what needs to happen. First of all, we have the checkbook. We can defund them. Second of all, under Article 3, Section...
I don't know, who's we? Because it seems like you aren't doing anything. It just seems like Elon is.
1 of the Constitution, we create all federal courts other than the U.S. Supreme Court, and we grant or remove jurisdiction from all those courts. So we need to remove jurisdiction from place to place so you don't get these nationwide injunctions. Piece of legislation.
It's his shitty internet. That's not my shitty internet. It's his. So what they're saying is that there's judges that put out injunctions, and Trump gets a lot of injunctions because he does a lot of really, really illegal stuff. And so he doesn't want those to exist anymore. He doesn't like that our system is working as it's supposed to work. And so now they want to figure out a way to get rid of judges who don't rule in their favor. Are we listening yet? You goddamn logheads. Like, is any of this getting through to you yet? How come every fucking institution is corrupt except for Donald Trump? Every institution is corrupt. The judiciary is corrupt. Congress is corrupt. The media is corrupt. Juries are corrupt. The Department of Justice is corrupt. Golf is corrupt. Everything's corrupt except for Donald Trump. Are you guys figuring that out yet? You think it's a good idea for one guy to hold this much power to now when anytime a judge rules? And by the way, you know what the judges are ruling? So let me just lay this out as clearly as possible and why this guy's such a fucking liar and why every Republican on TV is lying to you right fucking now. This is Project 2025. The idea behind Project 2025 is that there are parts of the law that they believe have been untested or have not been tested to the full extent. So they are looking for loopholes so they can establish fascism. That's all this is right now. They are trying to figure out workarounds so that judges can't stand in the way of one person unilaterally doing whatever the fuck they want. Now, if you're Republican, if you're Democrat, Independent, doesn't matter. You need our institutions to stand up right now. You need our institutions to stand firm. All they are ruling on Trump's cases are, hey, there's laws. Hey, you're doing something nobody's ever done before. And we don't believe that this has been adjudicated. You can't just make up rights. In this country, if you're in the executive branch or the legislative branch or the judicial branch, if you do something outside the Constitution, a judge can rule and should rule and does rule that this needs to be adjudicated. You can't just do shit. You can't just find a loophole and do it. So these judges are simply ruling, hey, this needs to be adjudicated. Before you create new powers, this needs to go through the court system. That's all they're doing. And Republicans are losing their fucking minds. They're saying that we need to go through and we need to disband these judges. We need to impeach these judges or strip their right to make rulings altogether. It doesn't matter what you think about the policies. If you've been through like civics, like 101 civics, you know there are 3 branches of government and they have checks and balances. And that's so that we don't turn into the country that we try to escape. We don't want to live under an oligarchy. And so we put these protections in place and they are systematically undoing those protections because Andy Biggs is a fucking redcoat. He's exactly the same as the redcoats. No, the church should rule. The church should be in charge of everything that you do. The church should be intertwined with the government. This should be a Christian one church nation. Ironically, they would run out the Mormons. If this guy doesn't, I don't know if he doesn't remember the history of his own people. Let me tell you the history of the Mormon people. Joseph Smith was into some shit. Joseph Smith, not a good guy, founded the Mormon church. Joseph Smith started practicing polygamy, which was against the law. And so the states were like, hey, dude, that's against the law. You can't do that. So he just kept moving state to state. Then he started getting child brides. And then when newspapers reported on him, he had them burn down the printing press. He literally had them storm in the middle of the night and burn down the printing press from the newspaper that reported that he was polygamist. And he said outwardly, they're reporting lies about me, and they were all true. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? How many things did Donald Trump tell us were a lie that have turned out to be true? So many things. So many things. Like the Stormy Daniels thing was real. He told us that was a lie. The Access Hollywood tape, remember, there was a rumor of that Access Hollywood tape, and they said it's not real. No, this is bullshit. And then it came out. Turns out that was real. No. We didn't meet with any Russians. My son didn't meet with the Russians in Trump Tower. Turns out they met with the Russians in Trump Tower. No. We stopped doing that business deal in Moscow in 2016. Turns out it was 2018 while he was president. They always get caught lying. But what he's saying now, what happened to the Mormons is even after Joseph Smith got killed, all the other Christians in the country were like, you guys believe in some weird shit. You don't get to practice your religion in our state anymore. And so they fled to Utah and to Arizona, where he's at now. And they did so under the guise of religious persecution, because when Christians come together and Christians start making decisions, they leave out the Mormons. The Mormons aren't included in this shit. They've got their own little book. They've got their own little spinoff. They've got a prophet who talks to God. Ironically, like, he doesn't understand that if we're going to go down this path, his church is going to lose their rights too. Eventually, they'll be like, all right, we got rid of, we've closeted all the gay people, all the trans people are gone. We've removed the Muslims from this country. The atheists are all in jail. We've got the Christians. And they're like, excuse me, Mormons aren't Christians, because Mormons believe that faith without works is dead, and that you can't get into the highest levels of heaven just by accepting Christ. And they're like, that's right. That's right. Mormons do believe in something different. And so there goes your religion, Mormons. Convert or lose your religion. They're trying to, like, the very people he's working with are trying to condense it down to one religion. Everything we fought against is what they're fighting for now.
Legislation I've got pending right now needs to get a hearing, needs to go forward, needs to get off the floor and get over to the Senate. But I'm going to give you, and then people say, well, let's impeach. That's an Article 2, Section 6 issue. And you can impeach. Your standard of proof is going to be different. You're going to have to prove some stuff. You can get them out of the House. And I have no doubt that we can come close to impeaching in the House, but you won't get the conviction. You're not going to get removal. I'm going to tell you now how I...
Why? Why do you think you won't get removal? Why do you think you won't get the people in the Senate to join in? And why are you going to get impeachment in the House? You get impeachment in the House because they do whatever Donald Trump tells them to do. And you won't get in the Senate because you have to get 60 votes. And you're not going to get Democrats on board with that. And you're not even going to get all the Republicans on board to vote for that. So now they're like, okay, so here's our legal remedy. Like, here's what's supposed to happen with the judges. We're supposed to be able to go through impeachment and removal. And since I can't get rid of people I don't like through the proper channels, let's figure out a new way. Let's try something totally new to strip power that is constitutionally granted to these judges.
And you can impeach. Your standard of proof is going to be different. You're going to have to prove some stuff. You can get them out of the House. And I have no doubt that we can come close to impeaching in the House, but you won't get the conviction. You're not going to get removal. I'm going to tell you now how I think we can remove these judges. Everybody thinks that these judges have lifetime tenure. Everybody's told that, but that's not accurate. Article 3, Section 1 says these federal judges, all federal judges, including U.S. Supreme Court justices, only can serve a tenure of good behavior if they are found to be in good behavior. So let me tell you what I think needs to happen. This has never been approached in the entire history of the United States.
Yeah. Why? How the fuck do you determine good behavior? You know what's not good, but you know what we don't ever impeach judge for? Corruption. Like, we don't impeach judges for taking bribes. The whole every right winger on the Supreme Court, maybe not Amy Coney Barrett. Actually, I don't think there's any evidence that she did. Took money. So good behavior now. So now they're going to try and redefine good behavior means doing what we want. We don't care if you take money. We don't care if you're completely bought and paid for. But if you rule against us, that's bad behavior.
But this is different than impeachment. And I am asserting that Congress should actually pass a resolution saying, Judge, you are not in good behavior. You're not consistent with the Constitution anymore.
That's not even good wording. Like, what kind? He's such a dog shit lawyer. Judge, we should draft legislation that says, Judge, you're bad. Okay. Like, this is a lawyer. He's a lawyer. A career prosecutor, as Steve Bannon would call him.
Article 3, Section 1, and thus you are terminated, you are fired. That does not require an impeachment. It doesn't require the super majorities that impeachment does. What it does is it says, we resolved, you are in bad conduct and you need to go.
That the country we want to live in, Republicans? That's what we want to do now? We want to ban people for behavior that we don't like, ban judges for rulings that we don't like. Is that what you want? Do you think this is a good idea? Is this the country that you want to live in? Is this really what you want? You really want a government that comes in and tells judges what to do and to think, and if the judges don't follow along with them, they just remove them? What if they decide there's a maximum wage for all those workers out there? What if they decide that there's a maximum wage that you want to put on employees? And let's say the maximum wage you can make is $30 an hour, just enough for you to get by. And then the judge comes in and is like, you can't control wages like that. And then they're like, well, we passed this law that says if you have bad behavior, we can get rid of you. Just think of the precedent that sets. There's no barrier there. There's no barrier of evidence. It's literally Congress just saying, hey, if we don't like you, we can get rid of you. Do you really want to live in that country? Does that seem like a good idea to you? Listen, we're not even talking Trump here. Let's just talk about this one fucking idiot right here, Andy Biggs. Is this who you want leading and making decisions? Guess how many bills this dumb bitch has passed in his life? Guess how many bills that he wrote have been passed? 0. He doesn't have sway. He doesn't have, nobody on the Republican side has ever liked him, and now suddenly he's on all these shows. Why? Just a bootlicker. But I don't think any of you guys really want this. I understand that you don't like us. I understand you love the let's own the libs, let's talk shit to libs. I get that, but I don't think any of you actually want what Andy Biggs is asking for here.
Well, have you begun to socialize that with your colleagues? Because I love it. I love outside the box thinking, and brother, that's pretty breathtaking. It only can come from the mind of Andy Biggs. Are you starting to run this up the flagpole with your colleagues?
Yes, I am. I've started it. I've talked with some folks on Judiciary Committee, including some who have actual control what goes on in Judiciary Committee. I'm pushing that because I do believe that's the way it needs to be. My team is drafting legislation. I'm working with them to draft that resolution. I'm hoping that we can get it to go forward next week. This has never been done in U.S. history, and I believe it's simply because people have bought into the notion of lifetime tenure, which is not what the Constitution says. So, yeah, I'm socializing it, and we need to get it done.
I love it. Look, I asked for Republicans to give me an honest response in the chat, and every one of them's like, fuck you. Yeah. Where'd you go to law school? Fuck you. How many bills did you pass? I just asked you if this was the country that you want, if you thought it was a good idea. Now, you guys, you're so enraged. You're so mad about everything that, I'm just trying to ask you a question. Do you want a country where the Congress can decide whether or not the judge's rulings are good? And if a judge rules against them, they just get to throw that judge out. That's all I asked. You guys are so obsessed with owning the libs. That's what we got instead. I tried. I did my best, guys. I tried to talk to him. We'll see if this works. Andy Biggs on that same podcast also says that he's introducing legislation to remove Jasmine Crockett and AOC because of their threats on Elon Musk. Here's Jasmine Crockett's threat to Elon Musk. Let's just play it in its entirety here.
Politicians. So I'll make sure that I keep it short, but I am truly here for very selfish reasons. Starting with on March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes. Listen, I have learned as I serve on the Doge Oversight Committee that there is only one language that the people that are in charge understand right now. And that language is money. And so I've been so proud to see us organized behind a cause of politicians. So I'll make sure that I keep it short, but I am truly here for very selfish reasons. Starting with on March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes.
We have the hashtag Tesla takedown. She just prefaced that with I love how these guys are losing money because of Elon. Let's continue doing it. I'm so happy. On my birthday, I want Elon Musk to be crying about how much money he lost. To take him down. And Andy Biggs, because he's such a thin-skinned little bitch, just like the rest of the Republicans that seem to be here today. It's just that's a threat. That's a death threat.
Listen, I have learned as I serve on the Doge Oversight Committee that there is only one language that the people that are in charge understand right now. And that language is money.
All right. So do you catch the death threat there? Anybody catch the death threat there? The new Tesla has completely sold out. Let's fact check that. New Tesla sold out. Let's see. White. Oh, the white interior. The one with the white interior. Because they're no longer offering it. Tesla is no longer offering the refurbished Model Y with the included white interior, but that doesn't mean it's lower. Yeah. Okay. So the special edition with the white interior is sold out. How many did they make? This explains why the new model has been hit with customers and received a lot of orders. It's unclear how many, but if the Model Y is half as popular in the US as it is in China, it should have 50,000 orders already. So popular that Tesla ran out of the white interior, which appears to be sold out nationwide. Oh, they just ran out of the materials to do the white. Okay. From January 31st. God damn. Update your talking points, morons. Update it.
All the Teslas are actually sold out.
No, they didn't plan that everybody wanted white interior. So now they can't do white interior because they're bad at business. They're bad at planning. There's all these people now that we're going to order Teslas and they can't get the white interior. So now they're probably like, maybe we won't get the Tesla because they didn't plan for this and they don't source things properly. Yeah, just more bad business by Tesla. That's what happens when your CEO doesn't care about your company, when your CEO is trying to play like Captain America instead of worrying about your company. Things fall right through the cracks.